welcome to another episode of The Freakin' Weekend. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I'm your host, Jackie Lucas, and
I'm Jeff Banson, and we have a very special guest beneath us today, for those of you watching us on YouTube, and her name is Donna Schmidt, and she is the founder of Maggie's Mission, which is a charity that has popped up right here on Long Island. Donna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So why don't you start off by telling everybody listening a little bit about how this came to be. And by the way, I just want to say that I came across Donna's video. Newsday's Faces of Long Island had done a spotlight on Maggie's Mission, and I saw it, and I was actually in the airport at the time. I think I was wearing sunglasses, which is a good thing because I started tearing up on the airport line right before the TSA check-in. I'm like, I need to put the phone down and go through this and watch the rest after. But it was just such a heart-touching story. I thought we needed to bring you on the podcast here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. We live in Green Lawn, and I have two children. My son Steven is 24, and my daughter Maggie would have been 22. But in August of 2016, Maggie was 16 years old. She was born April 19th, 2000. She suddenly got sick. She didn't feel well. And so it started a long journey of her going undiagnosed for cancer. She was diagnosed in September with cancer of 2016. And Maggie was diagnosed with a very rare and aggressive cancer called malignant rhabdoid tumors. And by the time they found the cancer, we were told it was stage 4, and that they couldn't help Maggie. They could extend her life by trying chemo, but they couldn't save her. And so Maggie was subject to, we did try to save her life through chemotherapy and surgeries. She went through four major surgeries when she was sick. And anyway, Maggie was loved children, like babies and little kids. She was always like playing with dolls and playing with like anybody who had younger siblings. Maggie was there playing with them. And before Maggie died, she asked us to help other children suffering from cancer, because we saw a lot of suffering on the 9th floor of Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is where she was treated when we tried to save her. And Maggie's Mission is a pediatric cancer nonprofit. We raise awareness of the problems of pediatric cancers, because a lot of times pediatric cancers aren't caught in time to save the life of these children. We fundraise to fund research to find cures, because the treatment options out there are very outdated, and there's like the pediatric cancers get very little in the way of funding for finding cures. And we also feed families at the Ronald McDonald House in New York City, where we were guests once. She was treated at Memorial Sloan Kettering, so that's where we stayed in the city a lot, and we had meals at the Ronald McDonald House often, because you could imagine if you're stuck in the hospital for weeks on end, that it's very expensive. So
I know it's a great thing that they do. It's another story, but my family actually stayed at the Ronald McDonald House once, and it was amazing how hospitable they were. And when you're just not, the last thing you're thinking about is taking care of yourself, they're taking care of you. So that's such a great thing they do, and I'm glad they were able to keep your family company while you were there and keep them comfortable and fed. How many? Let's go back a little bit here. How old again was Maggie when she started feeling ill?
So she was 16.
So she's in high school.
She's in high school. We live in Green Lawn. She's a Harborfield student, and she just texted me one day to tell me that she wasn't feeling well, and I was really out of character for her, because she really, like, as a child and growing up, she was never really sick. She didn't get like there'd be a stomach bug going around the house or the flu going around the house, and Maggie somehow avoided that. And for her to text me and say that she wasn't feeling well was like a red flag for me. But unfortunately, my husband and my son were out in Utah. They were actually on a backpacking trip, camping, hiking I forget, there's some peak out there in Utah that they were hiking, and Maggie didn't want to go, which was also another sign, which was unlike her. She was pretty adventurous, but she didn't want to go on the trip. I mean, had she gone on that trip, she would have died a lot sooner. She would have died probably that night of August 10th, because Maggie had what they thought was a cyst on her ovary that burst. And the pain that she was feeling was from, she was bleeding internally.
Wow.
So
Unbelievable.
So if she'd gone on that trip, she would have died.
Right.
She would have died that night, because they're far away from anything, any kind of help.
Right.
Donna, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
There's no words that, we can say to put into words of what it is to lose a child. And Maggie seems like a beautiful young girl who had so much ahead of her. And as a mom, how do you people look at you now and they say, wow, she's so strong and I can't believe she's doing all this. So how do you do it?
I know I'm not alone in doing what we're doing, like in honoring her life by helping others and giving back. And I think it's actually a really therapeutic way for parents to deal with the loss of a child, is to, instead of just, crawling into bed, which is, sometimes there's days where, I feel like I call it like hitting a wall, where like I can't function because I'm so sad from the grief of losing her. But I feel like this is something that parents do, is like it's some way to honor their child and to sort of make sense of something that doesn't make sense, is by honoring their spirit by helping others and giving back.
I know it's amazing. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I know you were saying, obviously you helping pediatric cancer. Was there something about your process with Maggie and what she went through that now you specifically want to change or focus on, so other families don't go through kind of what you went through? I don't know. Is there, know what I mean?
There's actually quite a few things. First of all, is the need for more funding for to find, medicines that work for cures for pediatric cancers, because there's been a lot of clinical trials for adults that have been passed over the past couple of years, but not a lot for children. So that's the funding of the research is one thing. Spread awareness. You hear it a lot for pediatric cancers, and that's because a lot of times parents are ignored when they bring their child to the doctor and say, something's going on. They're complaining of headaches. They're complaining of this. They're kind of like, they're turned away a lot because nobody expects a child to have cancer. But obviously in our case, we went through it. So we've seen it, and then continue to see it a lot. So that's another thing. And then there's also a lot for the future of Maggie's mission that I see happening. I want to talk about something specifically, end of life care for young children and young adults facing a terminal cancer like Maggie did. It was very, very difficult for us as parents going through the hospice situation. Maggie wanted to stay home. And I found that during the last 2 months of her life, after we were told that, the chemo wasn't working, the surgeries, obviously they didn't work, and that, we would have to face the fact that she was dying, there wasn't a lot of support that was geared towards helping us deal with her wanting to die at home. So, we had to fight for medicines for Maggie to get them through her port. She had a port put in where everything was done through the port. Medicines were administered that way because she couldn't swallow pills. So there was a lot of for the last 2 months of her life, I had to fight for a lot of things for Maggie. So it's one thing I'd like to see change locally, on Long Island, is maybe have some sort of hospice facility for parents who maybe wish to be in hospice, but then also have a team of people from that place be able to, social workers, psychologists, nurses, doctors, that really, really work as a team together to make that transition as easy as possible on a family. Because
when you think hospice, you think elderly people.
And it's exactly what it is. We all know, cancer affects people of all ages.
Exactly.
So there are young parents who are, unfortunately passing from this disease. But I think it's just a little bit different for a teenager. And in our personal experience, we had a very hard time for the last 2 months of our life, and it would be hard anyway. Don't get me wrong. And the people did try, but it was just like, I feel like, there could be a dedicated hospice facility, or maybe it's a wing of a hospice somewhere on Long Island that maybe is better geared towards helping and making that transition just easier. And there's one other thing I want to talk about quickly too. So right now, because, we've helped families not only locally when a child is diagnosed, but nationally. And there's a mom right now who's going through facing her son's death. He's 19. He has Ewing sarcoma. And she was told recently that, that there was nothing more they could do. And we've helped the family. We sent them on a trip to Disney because Make-A-Wish goes away when young adults turn 18. So we sent them on a trip to Florida, the family, that's just, we do a lot of things as Maggie's mission, but that was one thing. And so she's been reaching out to me. She's been calling me, every evening for support. So another thing that I would like to see happen nationally is maybe some sort of hotline for parents who have, recently diagnosed children in treatment, and then maybe, children that, while we ultimately want cures for this disease, right? For when that doesn't happen, or until then, we want to offer support nationally for families going through what we went through.
Yeah, I can't imagine the suddenness and how everything happened so quickly, plays into what is an already tough situation. But Donna, I think it's amazing. As someone who has had some, my family has gone through some of the trials and tribulations that come along with having, an ill kid. I think it's just so unfair when I think about it, like, for kids to have to go through this and have to experience these things, it's so tough and so heart-wrenching. And I think the thing that stands out to me is that with Maggie, in her time of greatest need and in the most dire and desperate situation, she reaches out to you to say, I want you to help other people, to look forward like that, and to have the courage to start being selfless and thinking about others, I think is just such an amazing thing. And I think it's great what you're doing. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit? I know you have an event coming up that about the cause. It's very important. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about that?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share. It's so after Maggie passed away, it was June 1st of 2017. It happened to fall on the day of my brother Michael, who she was very close to, and his wife Alicia's wedding day. And I did not make the connection on that day. Obviously, I wasn't thinking straight. So 4 years prior, Maggie was in their wedding party, and it was in Montauk, and Maggie passed on June 1st of 2017. And by September 29th of 2017, we were a fully functioning nonprofit, 501c3 status. We really, it happened very organically, and it just came together. And I always say that I feel like Maggie was part of that, on some other realm, helping to make things happen. Anyway, the first year that Maggie passed away, on June 1st, it was 2018, we held our Angelversary Gala. So we call it the Angelversary Gala because it's always held around the time of year that Maggie died. And everyone wears white to the event. This year, we haven't been able to host the event for the past 2 years for COVID, but this year the event is on Friday. It's June 3rd. It's from 6 to 10 p.m. It's at the Vanderbilt Museum. They've been really great partners to us. They're in Suffolk County and Centerport, and they've been wonderful to our organization. It's a beautiful space and place, and we're still selling tickets for that event. So it's Friday, June 3rd, 2022. And at the Vanderbilt Museum, you could go online at maggiesmission.org and follow the links to buy tickets. We'd love to have as many people there as we can. It's an open air tent. So we have, it's nice because it's outside overlooking the Long Island Sound. So it's beautiful. And we'll have cocktails in the courtyard, which is really, a beautiful space. The whole place is just magical. And I want to say it's actually where Maggie would have had her prom pictures taken if she had lived. made it to 12th grade, but she didn't. So it's like a special sort of way to honor her. And it's, while it's a very sad event for us, we try to make it a celebration of her life because obviously we don't want people to be sad. I mean, they're coming together to support us. So we have cocktails in the courtyard. We go into the tent. We'll have a champagne toast. We'll have a local speaker, a young girl who has, her name is Jamie Reed. She has osteosarcoma, which is a bone cancer. She was diagnosed shortly before Maggie was. She's a Harborfield student, she was a Harborfield student. Now she's in college studying to become a nurse. She's going to be speaking at the event. We'll have Dr. Alex Kensis from Memorial Sloan Kettering, who heads the research that we fund. He'll be there, and we'll give us a short video presentation, champagne toast to Maggie and all the children who have been affected by pediatric cancer, because Maggie loves champagne. And then it's just dinner, dancing, and raffles, silent auction, and just fun. I know it sounds hard to believe, but we try to make it, like I said, a celebration rather than a sad occasion.
And I think that's how Maggie would want it too. Exactly how she would want it.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's going to be there that night for her prom picture. We just may not be able to see her, but she's going to be there.
I know she will be. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And then if people, obviously, if anybody who wants to buy those tickets, go to the website. But I'm sure you also maybe have a link there if people can't attend, but they can donate just to the cause in general, right?
Yeah. Actually, they can text on, I think, Maggie, all uppercase, to 91999, I believe, or donate through our website. We have, donation buttons there.
All right, Donna Schmidt, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this. And we are hoping that we can up that turnout for June 3rd at the Vanderbilt Museum. It's going to be an amazing, amazing event. It's a beautiful area. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, do so, definitely. And again, it's maggiesmission.org, correct?
You're right. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Donna, thank you so much for joining the weekend. We are going to continue on here, just Jackie and myself, and we're going to Jackie, I mean, tremendous, just tremendous for a kid who's, in a grave situation like that and wants to help other people. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, I could sort of imagine because I was in a not so dire situation, but it was, it's still very tough, and it's so tough on the family. So for Donna and the rest of the family to be able to join together and carry the light on. It speaks to, we say Strong Island a lot. That really gives you the feeling of Strong Island.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, she turned such a tragedy into something that can carry Maggie's name on forever, and the mission, and to be able to help others. And she had some really great ideas of how to support families, and they seem so simple, and it's like, why aren't these things in place already?
100%.
And that's kind of what I was thinking when she was saying, like, why not have a hospice that's towards kids to maybe make it not so intimidating, and it's more maybe like child
rather than
based.
keeping them in the pediatric ward, or to give them the best possible way to go about this. Is no good way to go about it, but to make it as good as it can be, not only for them but for the family. Because I'm sure as mom and dad, you don't want to have to be spending the last hours in this hospital ward. You'd rather be spending it with them in a I guess less, I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, less dire environment, or less difficult environment. Like
you think of a hospital, it's kind of cold, you know what I mean? It's a medical environment, and it's intimidating, it's scary, and that's not what kids should ever really have to deal with, or B, then let alone be dying from cancer and have to feel that way. So it was wonderful to have Donna on. We can't wait to hear more about it and support her. Yeah. And
I told her I was just gonna say, I told her if we can sell a couple of extra tickets by having you on the weekend, it would be more than worth it. So
yeah, or maybe there's a family out there that doesn't have support and doesn't know where to look for support, and maybe they're listening and they can reach out to Maggie's Mission and get the help, that they and the support they need. So that would make my heart really happy if, we're doing this podcast for good, for good things to happen. And,
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well,
so, yeah, I guess we can wrap things up on that note. I know this was not the typical Jackie and Jeff having, a blast as always kind of an episode, but I think it was important, and it was so nice to have Donna on and talking about this really important cause and this new and growing charity that we have right here in the center of Long Island, and we hope nothing but the best for them. And we'll be back next week. We have some more guests. I know Jackie has some people that we're going to be bringing on the show here in the next couple of weeks, and looking forward to it, Jackie.
All right. So for now, though, everybody enjoy the freaking weekends. We appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and let us know what you think about this episode.
And don't forget, it's maggiesmission.org. Hopefully you can support in any way you can. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great weekend.